one of the most powerful medicinal herbs on the planet, has been growing wild in fields, roadsides, and backyards across North America and Europe for centuries, not hidden in some Amazonian rainforest, not locked in a Tibetan monastery, but right here. Before the rise of pharmaceutical medicine, healers and herbalists used this plant to treat conditions that modern medicine still struggles with: lymphatic congestion, hormone dysregulation, chronic skin disease, and respiratory illness. Now stay with me because I'm going to be revealing the one thing about red clover that almost no herbalist talks about publicly, and it does completely change how you use this plant. Now I'm talking about red clover, Trifolium pratense. And of course, by the end of this video, you won't be looking at a field of clover the same way again. Red clover, Trifolium pratense, is a perennial legume in the Fabaceae family, native to Europe, West Asia, and Northwest Africa. It's naturalized across the globe and today grows virtually everywhere that has a temperate climate and disturbed soil. You know this plant. You've walked past it and you've probably mowed over it. That beautiful, round, pinkish red bloom is the part with the most medicinal power, and it contains a class of compounds called isoflavones, specifically biocanin A, formanotin, daidzein, and genistein. Those interact with your body in ways that pharmaceutical scientists have been studying intensely for the past 4 decades. The plant has also been used as a fodder crop, a nitrogen fixer in the soil, and a wild food. But of course, we're here for the medicine. Soon I'm going to explain red clover's energetics. And this is the framework that will tell you who this herb is actually for and who should be cautious. So don't skip it. In traditional Western herbalism, every plant's understood through its energetics, its temperature, moisture, and the tissue states it addresses. Red clover is considered cool to neutral in temperature and moist in nature. This means it's especially suited to conditions of excess heat and dryness. Think chronic inflammation, dry and hot skin conditions, hot flashes, and dry, irritated respiratory tissue. Its affinity is strongly with the lymphatic system, the blood, the lungs, and the reproductive tissue. It's what herbalists call an alterative, a class of herbs that slowly, steadily restore proper metabolic function and alter the condition of the blood and tissues over time. The taste? Primarily sweet with mild bitter notes in the flower. That sweetness signals nutritive qualities. Red clover is rich in calcium, magnesium, niacin, thiamine, and vitamin C. The bitterness hints at its deeper cleansing action. In traditional Chinese medicine terms, red clover enters the lung and liver meridians. It clears heat, resolves toxicity, and moves stagnant blood. Its moisture-promoting quality helps address yin deficiency patterns, the kind of dryness and depletion that shows up as night sweats, dry skin, and menopausal symptoms. In Ayurveda, red clover is pacifying to Pitta, the fire constitution, and to Vata when used correctly. It increases kapha in excess doses, so those with kapha constitution or congestion need to use it carefully. Its sweet and bitter rasa, combined with its cooling virya, makes it deeply nourishing and purifying in Pitta-dominant conditions. So now that you understand who this herb speaks to, let's get into the mechanics of how it heals. And we're starting with a system that many people overlook, the lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system is your body's deep cleaning network. Unlike your blood, which has a pump, your heart, lymph has no pump. It moves through movement, breath, and the help of certain herbs. When the lymphatic system becomes stagnant, what herbalists call lymphatic congestion, you end up with swollen glands, chronic skin issues, recurring infections, fatigue, and a general feeling of being stuck. Red clover is one of the premier lymphatic herbs in the Western tradition. It's a core ingredient in some of the most respected herbal formulas ever developed, including the famous Hoxsey formula and Easy tea, both of which were used historically as blood purifiers and immune support tonics. As an alternative, red clover works by improving the overall quality and flow of lymph and blood. It encourages the body to excrete metabolic waste through the appropriate elimination channels, the skin, lungs, kidney, and bowel. This is why it was historically used for bad blood conditions. That's an old-fashioned term for what we now describe as chronic inflammation, toxic load, or immune dysregulation. The isoflavones and flavonoids in red clover also display direct anti-inflammatory effects, helping to reduce the kind of chronic low-grade inflammation that sits underneath conditions like eczema, psoriasis, arthritis, and autoimmune patterns. Now, coming up next, and this is the section women especially need to hear, we're going into red clover's relationship with hormones, specifically the conversation around phytoestrogens that's been oversimplified and misunderstood for years. Red clover is probably best known today for its phytoestrogen content, and this is where things get interesting and where the misinformation is thickest. Red clover contains isoflavones, plant compounds that can weakly bind to estrogen receptors in the body, and the key word here is weakly. They are not the same as synthetic estrogens or even endogenous human estrogens. They are much weaker. And here's the nuance many miss. They can work as both estrogen agonists and antagonists depending on the tissue type and the hormonal environment. In a low estrogen environment, like in menopause, the isoflavones can provide mild estrogenic support, helping to reduce hot flashes, night sweats, vaginal dryness, and mood fluctuations. Multiple clinical studies have shown modest but consistent reductions in menopausal symptom frequency with red clover isoflavone supplementation. In a high estrogen environment, like estrogen dominance, the isoflavones may actually occupy estrogen receptors and block stronger, potentially more damaging forms of estrogen from binding. This is a protective mechanism. This is part of why there's legitimate research exploring isoflavones in the context of hormonal cancers, though this research is ongoing and complex. As for men, red clover doesn't cause feminization at normal herbal doses. The phytoestrogenic effect is just too mild. But what it does do is support prostate health, reduce inflammation, and may even help with urinary symptoms. Emerging research suggests isoflavones have a protective effect on prostate tissue. Now here's the piece that we don't hear much about. Red clover's effect on the lungs and skin and why it was historically considered a cancer herb in folk medicine, and that's coming up right now. Before we had antihistamines, corticosteroids, and bronchodilators, herbalists treated respiratory disease with plants, and red clover was a frontline respiratory herb. It's an expectorant, meaning it helps loosen and move mucus from the respiratory tract. It's also antispasmodic, helping to calm the bronchial spasms associated with cough, bronchitis, and whooping cough, for which it has a long historical record of use. Its anti-inflammatory properties extend to the lung tissue, helping to soothe irritated bronchial walls for dry, hot, inflamed respiratory presentations, which is exactly what you see in early stages of many respiratory infections. Red clover's cool, moist energetics are a near perfect match. For the skin, red clover is used both topically and internally. Internally as an alterative and lymphagogue. It helps clear the conditions that manifest on the skin, like eczema, psoriasis, acne, boils, and chronic inflammatory skin disease. Topically, a strong infusion of the flowers can be applied as a wash or compress for skin inflammation, slow healing wounds, and even eczema plaque. This dual action, internal cleansing plus topical application, is what makes red clover a genuinely systemic herb. It works from the inside out and the outside in. Now we get to the practical section, how to actually use this plant. I'm going to give you the 3 most important preparation methods and the traditional formulas that have stood the test of time. The simplest and most traditional preparation is the infusion. Use 1 to 2 tablespoons of dried red clover blossoms per cup of water. Steep covered for 10 to 15 minutes. Drink 2 to 3 cups daily for chronic conditions. The longer steep time is important. You want to extract both the volatile aromatic compounds and the heavier isoflavone content. For more concentrated, consistent dosing, a tincture made at a 1 to 5 ratio in 40 to 50% alcohol is traditional. The dose is typically 2 to 4 milliliters 3 times daily. Tinctures have a longer shelf life and are convenient for travel. If making your own, use fresh blossoms in the menstruum. The fresh plant captures compounds that can be lost in drying. For topical use, infuse the dried blossoms in a carrier oil. Olive oil works beautifully for 4 to 6 weeks using the solar infusion method, or gently heated for a faster extraction. Apply to inflamed skin, eczema lesions, or arthritic joints. A simple poultice of fresh crushed flowers can be applied directly to wounds and skin irritations. Red clover pairs beautifully with other alterative herbs. Classic lymphatic formulas often combine it with cleavers, calendula, yellow dock, and burdock root. For respiratory support, pair it with mullein, elecampane, and marshmallow root. For hormonal support, combine with vitex, motherwort, or black cohosh under the guidance of a trained herbalist or the Ultimate Herbal Database. We're almost there, and what I'm about to share about safety and contraindications is critical. This is the information that could prevent a serious mistake, so don't skip it. Red clover is a gentle herb with excellent safety records at normal food and herbal doses, but context matters, and there are populations who should use caution or avoid it entirely, one of which is in hormone-sensitive conditions. If you have estrogen receptor positive breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, endometriosis, or uterine fibroids, don't use red clover without explicit guidance from your oncologist or a qualified herbalist who understands oncology. The phytoestrogenic effect, while mild, is a real consideration in these contexts. Next, blood thinning medications. Red clover contains coumarin, compounds with mild anticoagulant properties. If you're taking warfarin, aspirin therapy, or other anticoagulants, consult your healthcare provider before using red clover therapeutically. And then pregnancy. Red clover has a historical reputation as a uterine stimulant in large doses, so avoid therapeutic use during pregnancy. Culinary amounts, like the occasional cup of tea, are generally considered safe, but therapeutic doses are not recommended. And for children under 12, they should not use therapeutic doses of any phytoestrogenic herb without professional oversight. So at normal herbal doses for healthy adults, red clover has been used safely for centuries. Research studies using standardized isoflavone extracts have shown a strong safety profile. But as with any herb, respect it, understand it, and when in doubt, consult a professional. So here's what I promised you at the beginning. The thing about red clover that many herbalists do not talk about publicly. It's not just about isoflavones, it's not just about hormone balance, and it's not just about lymphatics. Red clover is what traditional herbalists call a depurative tonic. It's a slow, steady, systemic cleanser that works across multiple body systems simultaneously: blood, lymph, hormones, lungs, skin, in a coordinated way that no single pharmaceutical drug can replicate, because no single pharmaceutical drug is designed to do that. The ancients understood that disease didn't live in isolated systems. It lived in the terrain, in the overall quality of blood and tissue. And herbs like red clover were used not to attack a single pathogen or suppress a single symptom, but to restore the terrain itself. That's a fundamentally different model of health, and it's one that more and more researchers are beginning to take seriously as we grapple with the epidemic of chronic, multi-system diseases that our current medical model was not designed to address. Red clover doesn't fix you. It helps you become the environment in which health is the natural outcome. That's the revelation. And it was growing in a field near you the whole time. So if this video changed the way you see plant medicine, give it a like. It genuinely helps other people find this content. Subscribe and hit the bell, because I'm releasing deep dives into important herbal medicines each week, and you don't want to miss any of them.